Hey y'all, it has gotten too dry to lay off cotton rows. I was having a difficult time getting the machine to work right. It's pulling up big old huge red clay pumpkins, which is not good. We can't plant those little tiny cotton seeds inside the rows filled with big huge clay pumpkins. So had to stop laying rows off. We got to cut on the water so we can get the land ready. That's not something we have to do very often, but unfortunately that's what we're going to do this year. We're going to irrigate open ground so that we can till it to get the crop planted. So I'm down here at the pond. You can see this pond's already sucked down low. We've been sucking water out of this pond, pumping it to another pond so we can then pump it from that pond to another field to irrigate. But now we've swapped all that over and we're going to pump it from this pond to the field where we're trying to plant the cotton. So first thing we're going to do is we got to prime this pipe. This big long pipe going way out, it goes way to crap out there. Has a foot valve on the end of it. And we gotta get it filled with water. You have to have water in this pump before you cut it on or you tear the pump up. So we have to get the water sucked up the hill. And traditionally, you'd use that hand pump right there and you'd pump it up here, and it takes a lot of pumps, several hundred, 300-400 pumps. Pumping up the hill. So we come up with another way of doing that. We install this system right here. There's back pressure. The irrigation is very far uphill, a lot of elevation between us and it, and all that water's in the pipe. So we just open this up. First we open this up so the air can escape, and now I'm going to open this up, just crack it. And I'm letting water run from up the hill back down here into this pipe. And it's going to fill the pipe up. Instead of me having to pump and pull it up the hill, I'm going to let it flow down the hill. It'll hit that foot valve on the bottom of this pipe, and it'll close. And it'll keep all the water from just running to the pond. So we'll use gravity to fill our pipe up. And air's coming out right there. All right, we are primed. I'm going to cut the water off. Boom. I'm going to cut this off temporarily. Now we're going to crank this big diesel engine up. I'm going to slowly idle the engine up. You don't want to rev it up too quick. I'll slowly bring up the RPM. Driven out now. The pond was behind those woods and down a hill. Underground pipe comes up here, goes by that irrigation, and goes over here to this one, and that's where Big D's at. We're fixing to get this thing fired up. That water travels about a mile on the ground to get up here. This is one of the few overhead sprinkler systems we still have. Most of the irrigations have been converted to drop nozzles, so the nozzles hang down low below the framework and work off of low pressure. These are still low pressure, but they're on top of the pipe. The drop nozzles get the water closer to the ground, so you don't have as much evaporation. High pressure systems break the water up to finer drops, and they work on top of the pipe. And so you get a lot more evaporation, you lose that precious water. This is a low pressure system, so the water isn't broke up as fine, but the drops, there's no drops, and the nozzles are on the top, which is good and bad. You may get a little more evaporation being that the nozzles on the top instead of hanging way down the bottom on 4-foot, 5-foot drops, but nozzles on drops stop up constantly. And as you may have seen in one of my previous videos, there's a lot of maintenance in drop nozzles. Nozzles on top of the pipe, zero stoppage. Never, ever, ever stop up. So these are no maintenance, and drop nozzles are extreme maintenance. Lose a little water this way through evaporation, but far less maintenance. you may can hear the air pushing out of those nozzles. That's the water pressure is building up. There's a lot of air in the pipe, and it's got to push out of those nozzles. And since all the air gets out, you'll see this thing jump and a bunch of water start coming out then. And as it loads up with water, the pipes actually sit down to the ground a little bit. It'll shrink just a little bit. We don't have any electricity at this particular pivot point, so we got a portable generator that we take to the different pivots on this farm. So you see we got a lot of pressure down there on the end towers now. Hadn't quite worked all the air out of this first tower yet. Just as soon as we get the air out, we'll fire the electricity up and start this baby to walking and cut the end gun on. The end gun shoots out really well. Yeah, let's fire them off. This is a little diesel engine hooked to a generator wired to the pivot. The way this irrigation works is you have a percent timer. Set this timer for what percent of the time you want the last tower to be walking. All the other towers move in order to keep up with the last tower. Set that on 50. That means 50% of the time the last section of wheels will be walking. All the other towers will move in accordance to keep up with the last set of tires. I'm about to start the pump down at my house, but first I gotta check and make sure my valves are right. There's 4 pivots hooked to the pump. There's 2 pumps at my house, 4 pivots hooked to one of them, and that happens to be the one we're gonna start. So I gotta go around each pivot, make sure the valves turn correctly. If you cut the pump on and the valves are all closed, you're gonna tear the world up. So you gotta make sure the one you want is open and all the other ones are closed. Make sure the water's got somewhere to go. Open. This is the one we want open too. All right. On the pole over there. Let's see if we can start it from the field. If we got everything set right at the pond, I can cut this one on from the field. We're about to find out. All right, I'm down at the pump, one of the pumps at my house. I'm gonna put it on auto. So now I'm at the field, I can cut the water on and this pump will cut on. And the reason I have it on auto instead of hand, if I cut it on hand, water start right now and it'll run until I come back down here and cut it off. If I cut it on auto, water won't start until I go to the field and tell it to start coming. And then if something happens to the irrigation, let's say it gets through and it gets to the stop, or it shorts out because it gets out of line, if something happens that tells the irrigation to stop walking, it'll kill the water. So we don't sit here and water in one spot all night. Unlike at the last place, the water will beat us up the hill. We beat the water up the hill at the other farm, but this one, the water don't have as far to travel and the water will beat us there. The water travels on this same lane that we're on. The pipe is under the ground right here. And we run into little issues here the last few years. As these trees grow, their roots go down and they can sense that cool pipe in the ground. So their roots will all turn and grow towards that pipe pumping that cool water. And the roots go over to the pipe and then they grow around and around the pipe. As the roots get bigger, they squeeze the pipe and then they break the pipe. And then we have to dig it up and it's a mess. And we've done it several times in the last few years. So we always ride through that lane when we're cutting on, see if there's any water bubbling out of the ground. I didn't see none this time, but wouldn't surprise me if we're back down there in a few weeks or a month digging up some pipe. We have a chart in here. We want to put out 7/10 of an inch. So go to gross application, 7/10 of an inch. Main timer, 35. That means the end tower will be walking 35% of the time. And the circle time is 37 hours. It'll take 37 hours to walk a circle. However, this field's not a circle. There's a road going down one side of it. So we got to cut it down a little bit. It's just under a circle. It's just under a half circle. So I do a little math. About 47% of, what was it? 37.21. That'll tell us what time it's going to get done, so we know what time we need to be here to switch it over to another system. 35. On. Here we go. Let's cut on the end gun now. I remember sitting in Miss Collins' math class in high school. I said, you know, I'm never going to need this math. This is useless. Who needs to learn this complicated formulas? Turns out farmers do. So what I'm doing now is I'm checking to make sure each tire is pumped up. We want to make sure each section of tires moves. And we want to make sure all these tips are unstopped. We're looking for any tip that's not putting down enough water. We're looking for a tire that may be flat. We want to make sure all of them roll before we leave. Our end gun seems to be oscillating properly. Our tips look like they're all putting out good. The wind is still in our water. Now that that system is walking good, I've swapped up and put on my swimsuit because we got to start another system in this field. This field has 4 pivots that pump out of 2 different ponds. This system is the most reliable of the 4, and I'm about to start the least reliable of the 4. So there's a high probability I'm going to get majorly wet while I unstop a bunch of tips. So I put on the swimsuit. So let's go down there to the second pond, get this pump going, and see what we can do. Check our water down here. Drill. Yep, we're good there. Okay, the water beat us here. This system has a buried electrical line coming out here to it, so I don't have to have a generator. It's got electricity already out here. Don't quite have the pressure yet, but it's building up. 35. Just like that. And it's going to take it 20 hours to make it circle. We're going to wet. Start. Here we go. And there they go moving. So in the box you'll see start and run. That might not make a lot of sense if you don't know much about irrigations. You want to say start and stop would kind of make sense. But start and run, you flip it to start when you're starting the system off, and basically start says, okay, all the safeties are off. There's no safeties on. And so it's gonna move no matter what. When you flip it to run, if something happens, it gets out of line because maybe a tire goes flat, something prevents it from walking the way it's supposed to walk, it'll stop walking right there at that spot. Instead of breaking in half and something crazy happening, because if it don't stop walking when a tire goes flat and the rest of it keeps walking, it may walk around, run into itself, or flip over. These things, they can tear up before you blink your eye. These things are highly unreliable, so you got to make sure you run it the right way so it will cut itself off if something tears up. What I'm doing now is I'm checking these tips, make sure all of them are spraying. And the ones that aren't spraying, we're going to get the ladder out here and unstop them. End gun's going, tips are spraying, but the last tip down there end's not spraying. That's not supposed to happen. Too much water or a heap of water spilling out under the pump that pumps for the end gun. All that water's not supposed to be coming out right there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, number 4 right here is not spraying. Number 6 is not spraying, so we're going to cut this water off to work on that pump up there. I'll just remember those numbers on those nozzles, and I'll get them while the water's off. Then we'll come back out here and cut it back on and check it again. All right, I got all the tips unstopped. We got her walking. Let's hope she makes it through the night. Thank y'all for watching. See you next time.